the quebrada Saca and the quebrada Quecha in the reserve are much higher. And then Rio Negro is the quebrada Saca and the quebrada Quecha in the reserve are much, but it's still better than the clay here. So another question we wanted to answer was, how did the river quality scores change over time? So here we still have the same quality score average with vertical axis. It's all separated by the rivers. But as you can see, there's quite a bit of variation, but there doesn't really seem to be any positive or negative trends with it. So we really think these last 4 years, it hasn't really changed that much. The biggest change we could find kind of seemed to be in the Quebrada Quecha. There seems to be a slight upward trend, but we weren't really sure how significant it was.
All right, so after going through this data, we began to draw some conclusions, and we found that overall there's lower water quality in urban areas, which makes sense, like how we found the river that was going through Santa Elena had a much lower water quality, especially than the ones that were out in the rainforest. And also, a lot of the indicators were consistent over time, like Ben just talked about, and we didn't notice significant changes during the pandemic, especially in 2020 and 2021. And also, dry season typically had better quality water, which you could see in the graph you showed 2 slides ago with the red and blue. Usually, the dry season was better. Use that. Yes. Okay. So from this, we drew a few solutions that both people in the community and people in positions of power in Monteverde could consider implementing or already have started to implement. For example, maintaining forest cover, especially in reserves that we already have or places outside of reserves, is important. As you can see from the data, it was very clear that rivers that went through forested areas had much cleaner water. There was less erosion, less stuff getting into the water, less people putting things in the water as well. And also keeping livestock out of rivers and streams is very important. In addition to that, keeping waste out of rivers, this could be an individual thing, and using things like biodegradable soaps so that those chemicals aren't staying in the water, aren't polluting it, aren't attracting native insects, and keeps the water cleaner for everyone. And also you could consider having a gray water treatment garden, like the one that's pictured here. Gray water treatment gardens are basically systems that people can have in their own individual yards that treat chemicals at their source. And they filter chemicals from the kitchen or maybe from your laundry with things like sand, gravel, or other plants. And there's even an example of this in the Institute out back over there. There's also the opportunity to do fire retention ponds, which you can see here. It's kind of like a trench you can dig, and you can fill it with things like plants and gravel, and it serves as a temporary settling zone for water, and then that filters it before it enters the groundwater, and then it goes into springs, which then go into our rivers. So, in an indirect way, it keeps water in our rivers clean. There's also constructed wetlands, which are actually natural wetlands that get engineered to be more efficient in filtering water, and this is done with aquatic plants and gravel. And a huge thing that happened recently is a land was purchased to make a future water treatment plant. So this is very exciting to improve the quality of water in the area. And this is, the purpose of it is to channel water to the plant and then treat it and then send it back to the river so that you're not taking the source of water from this river, but it's still coming back to you. And we had a few recommendations also for this whole research project in general for the future of sampling data. And we thought that it might be beneficial to include some other sampling locations. We had a lot of areas in the forest which served as a great control, but they also didn't change as much. So we thought it might be interesting to also look at urban and agricultural areas more, as well as industry. We did have an urban area, but we'd like to see maybe one in Santa Elena. And then we didn't have any strict agricultural areas, so that could be a major focus as well. And then also, I know this project has only been going a few years, but consistent long-term sampling will be very important going forward to get good quality data. So our suggestions for this is making sure you have at least 2 samples from the wet season for each one, and also 2 samples from the dry season. The reason we specify is because it's hard to compare data if they're not from the same season, because there's different insects. And also we think that citizen science is a really strong part of this program, so continuing to use citizen science getting schools involved will be good for going forward.
So another thing that we tried to do with this project was to lay the groundwork and kind of a general layout for an app or just some other kind of guide to help citizens, especially identify insects. The current method is just a little bit confusing, especially if you don't understand like the order of bugs and a lot of the more broader and like more scientific terms. So this is kind of a general layout of how we thought an app would look. And then on the right here would be something for somebody who has a little bit more knowledge. It's like an identify by order. So you can look at a bug and just tell what order it's a part of. And then from there, it would bring you to a page of either images of bugs in that order or the names of the bugs in that order. And then from there, it would go to the far left one, where it has some information on the bug, the name of the bug, and then a way to add it to a counter so that you wouldn't necessarily need to record everything by hand. And then this middle one would be more geared towards citizens or people who just have a little bit less scientific know-how. And then it's kind of identifying it by similar characteristics. So that could be anything from larva versus adult, or number of wings, or number of tails, or something like that. And then that would also take you to a second page where it would list all of the images of similar bugs, and then it would then go to this final page again.
To end, we wanted to give a big thank you to the Monteverde Institute, to Luisa, who organized this project and took us along and gave us a lot of support as we went through this process of making this presentation and analyzing the data, and also to Randy, who is our program coordinator, and to our homestay families as well. And we would like to open it to any questions that people have in the community.
I thought the app was really interesting, but I'm wondering if there's a simple method that could be given out to families or people with businesses in town to identify them. I know that recently I had a conversation with one of my friends who has a business in town, and she was very upset because she kept finding the same type of tiny little shrimp-looking insect right outside her house. And I tried to explain that was a good thing because she lives close to the river. There's a lot of misinformation. And because everything is oriented towards tourism, a lot of people feel like these are bugs, and then you can get rid of them, and they're spraying a lot of chemicals right outside of their houses. So I'm wondering if someday before the app or something related to that, could be just a very simple guide of what to look out for. And once you learn about something, you gain respect for it, and you can even end up liking it, you know? The problem is that a lot of people have no idea about their importance, and that they're indicators as well, which I think is fascinating. So just putting it out there is something that I've heard in conversation, and I think would be great if we could put that information out, not only for the locals, but then for the tourists who are visiting as well, so they can understand that this is part of coexisting with them. And they're not cockroaches, and they don't mean that the house is dirty, they mean that you live close to the creek.
That's a great idea. Thank you. Do you have any other questions? Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the app and like where it's at in the process and like future plans for it? What we expect might happen with it?
I suppose I can take that. I did a lot of work with it. So right now we have the layout you saw, and then we also have that final page that was on the left that kind of had a general overview of what the bug is, anyone would want to put on that page, and we're happy to share that with somebody if they want to take up the app. And then we also worked a little bit on the actual coding aspect of the app, and we're happy to send that on as well. But it's a little bit difficult for the publication process, and then there would also be probably a little bit of kind of proofreading of the app, and maybe a little bit of stuff that other people would want to add on as well.
So basically, the foundations are all in place with writing the basic code and putting together pictures and information about all the insects and connecting it, but it's just not published yet, and it probably needs some proofreading and double checking, some testing. But I think the plan is to pass it on and make it available for people to use and share as a way to make it a little bit easier to identify these bugs, because as we're going to see here in just a minute, I think it can be a little bit challenging to identify exactly what little bugs you have in your cup.
Yes, so that leads us into our next thing, which is a game.
Yep, so just like Rochelle mentioned, we're going to have a game right now where we try to identify some of the bugs, but what we'd like to articulate and kind of reiterate is the importance of citizen science as a part of this research project. And basically, again, what that means is that this is accessible for everyone, that everyone should be able to participate in this and also have some fun with it too. We hope to express that through our game. So before the app was designed, what we and other students have been using and other citizens have been using are these little black booklets that we've replicated and printed out for all of you. And associated with the booklet is the same scoring process that we use to produce our data that shows a picture of the bug and then their score of what they have. It'll be 1 to 9. And so what we're going to have is right here we have 2 different streams, 2 different bodies of water. And you may split up as you'd like, and we can pass out some of these booklets and help us identify and determine which stream has what kind of quality water with it. So, it could be good just to separate 2 by 2. I know there's a little more people over here. Yeah.
So yeah, go.
You have my bugs up here, and I can pass these out.
No, ya sé quitarlo, no.
Tres.
There's no audio, is there?
Is this OBS? This is OBS. We're streaming. We're live.
Like,
different. Yeah, I think it's about this one. Nobody likes that one's finished further. That might not be.
yeah, I don't think it's either.
Well, that's why this was difficult.
Yeah, this is so hard.
Yeah, it's very
What do you think that would be like? Are these all adult? I don't know if they can.
shut down.
Some of them change. Yeah. That's what made it so hard. It might be this one.
This? This? Oh, that's close. That's not even close. I don't know how many legs he has.
Maybe there's one hiding behind that. That's a 6.
Jimmy! 6! Alright, alright. About this, don't go. Drew, 6. 6. Again. He's a little chunky. About these guys.
Oh, yeah.
That one's chunky. I feel like it's something like that one is really close. But this one might be it. That one's gonna blow it out.
Maybe this is a younger version of this one.
It's got the same head. It's a tail. It's a tail.
Yeah, but maybe this is a
Let's go. What's the story? Yeah, it could be this. Yeah, it's got a fatter body. You want to sub in? Sub in.
That wasn't a can you sub in, that was a.
Let's just say the 2 because
Oh, we know this one first.
which one is this?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, so we are four.
Yeah, it has a slight difference.
Okay, yeah.
I alerted the man. Okay. I hit him with the.
Yeah.
Y'all better hurry up. They only got like 4 left. Yeah. Screw on that guy. That's
Yeah.
7. Drew, 7. Wait, I'll shoot that.
No. But you started already.
Close. Is there anything
No. Nothing looks close, but I'm close. No. Three.
Two, Trace.
So these two are pretty like unique.
Maybe it's just inside though. Maybe it's just inside of it.
It's a show. Oh, you're saying that? I would say so.
Yeah.
Two, Trace.
Well, this one. This one's pretty. It's a wide back legs. Is there a front? Yeah, yeah.
If its legs are down, four.
Quattro.
Well, the thing is, it's about getting them right.
Oh.
I think he's doing a good job.
Do any of these look like this? That's, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, four.
Two, Quattro. Quattro.
This one.
Camera.
Actually, yeah. So what's the one? Five.
Sure.
Cinco.
Yeah. These are like, yeah, that might be this one. Yeah. About one of these.
I need to go back to the other pictures.
What about that?
Two, Cinco.
I think that is also.
These two are part time.
I don't think we're gonna check that. It's like two cents. That's not a lot of it. Yeah.
So what we learned from the last one, it can be fat and it can be skinny. So that doesn't matter.
This one has 3 sets. This one's got 3 sets of legs and then 2 sets of legs. That's got 3 sets of legs.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah, that
There's two more.
So there are refreshments, as I understand, if anyone would like refreshments. There's
Yeah, that's what I was
in the kitchen area.
Is it good? Oh, yeah.
But they're both an 8.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's an 8.
Drew, O2. O2. Alright, last one. It's just, his head is really like, I don't know, there's not a lot of you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't hinge off this one. What about one of those? Drew, 5. You were a team.